I am Captain Spawn, and this is day 249 of Spawn Year. "16 days left. Just 16 days! Might as well be 16 years. I've become so inoculated to trite wooden dialogue and bloated stories with no sense of direction that either my standards will be so far below the floorboards when I'm finally free of these dreadful things, or I'll be so cynical and jaded I won't know how to enjoy any story anymore. Yes, I fell all over myself over Salmon Twitch the writer, but that's because the thing I had no choice but to read those 4 days were so much more sane and logical than most of what I've had to compare them to. I sometimes worry that I'll have no more stomach for fictional narrative at all after this. Perhaps that was the whole idea of this loathsome scenario, to make me so disenfranchised with reviewing this story that I'd abandon my passion and career in favor of basket weaving or Tai Chi or opening a karaoke bar, becoming a game show host. Ah, the fleeting dreams of my youth. Well, game show host, not basket weaving. But even that sounds 16 times more exciting than 16 more days of this. Once again, I'm going to begin today's critique by citing one of McFarlane's letters. This one talks about the importance of writing toward an artist's strengths. Kriansky isn't a big action guy, he's a people sitting around talking guy. I agree. So what's the problem? Well, I've read the Penguin mini Kriansky drew for DC just after this, and I was riveted. That was quite dialogue-driven too, but characters were interesting, stuff was happening, the unsettling atmosphere complementing the disturbing events happening there. So, new direction, more character-driven, less action-packed, fine. For a minute, Carlton seemed up to the task. But every issue, he's plotting and writing more like McFarlane. It's becoming increasingly more meandery, the dialogue more cliche and juvenile, the characterization more stereotypical, and the overall plotting really dull. The biggest challenge I'm facing right now is not the emissary of Coke. It's staying awake through the last 2 weeks of reviews. In this issue, Sarah convinces Jim not to be an inhuman monster and save the guy who got hit by a bus. Clown freaks out like this time Jim being on TV is somehow that much more of a big deal than the last time it happened, I guess because some people thought the talk show thing was staged, but here Clown says Jim's going to, quote, blow his cover, and unless he thought Jim was going to bust out the cape and chains here, I don't know what that means. Then more pointless scheming from Blood about his minions testing Spawn in a totally cuttable scene. Yep, 2 issues talking about testing Spawn. I'm gonna be in a wheelchair watching Price is Right reruns and being fed intravenously by the time this story is over. Mark's trying to find Jim's supposed wife while his petty girlfriend slams doors on him for having the audacity to work for a living, and Clown, having just acted like Jim healing that guy would bring the world to an end, tells Jim to keep basking in the limelight because if agents of heaven or hell come after him, they'd be forced to reveal themselves, and that's, quote, the last thing they'd want to do. More confusing manipulation tactics where Clown says counterintuitive things while I wonder what he's trying to get Jim to do. Never sure if this strategy makes sense, and knowing it won't matter because whatever Jim does will probably just be told it happened because Clown subtly directed him to do that. Jim not knowing who or what he is being played here as his internal conflict. He's having trouble empathizing with others because he has no ideology or code of his own. Except he clearly cares about Sarah and says he's only healing the paparazzi guy for Sarah's sake because she can't stand to see Jim act like a monster. I'm a little more okay with his vague characterization now that it's clear not knowing what his personality is has driven some of his weirdness. But I still don't like not knowing how much control the costume has over him, and I would have liked to see Jim more mortified to think he's capable of what he almost did. The fact that he would have let the man die without a second thought is extreme and should tell me something about who Jim is or was, but it might just be Letha. I am so restless after 4 issues of this, I would almost kill for more combat training. Signed, Captain Spawn.